Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether it be hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or that wonderful weight gain around the middle that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to those tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet it feels like nothing is working. You're putting in all this effort and you're actually moving backwards. But we know now that your body is inherently different now that you've gone through these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life so you can reach those health and fitness goals, feel in control and at home in your body again, live a life full of vitality, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today I want to talk about the holiday season. It is upon us, everything's in full swing. There are more parties. There are more events that you're going to, family dinners, more travel. And I want to really cover how to beat the 9 sneaky holiday health traps that can, eventually lead to potentially overeating and stress eating and all these other things that come hand in hand with the holidays, because although they are fun, they also tend to be very stressful, very busy, very easy for us to fall off track, quote unquote, right? Like we just had Canadian Thanksgiving on the day that I'm recording this. This will come out closer to American Thanksgiving for you because most of our listeners are in the States. But I do want to talk about how over the holidays, it's crazy. From October until January is when people gain the most weight during the year. It's about 8 pounds. And this is like a statistic. This happens every year. People gain the most weight during this time of year. So then January hits and they want to start losing weight. But the weight that you gain in the last 3 months of the year takes up to May for you to lose, let alone get to where you want to be. So where you are right now, if you're already struggling, not happy with where you are, it's going to take you until May to get to what you are right now. So we should be proactive. This is why I want to talk about how to navigate the holidays so that you're not in that position of, oh man, I gained all this weight. And then it takes you until almost summer to lose that weight, let alone get to where you actually want to be. Then you're just in this constant cycle of gaining and losing the same 5 to 10 pounds, right? So let's talk about the holiday struggles because it happens, right? Staying healthy during the holidays is super challenging. There are so many various temptations and, routine is totally out the window for most of us. So I want to highlight the common struggles first, and then we're going to talk about the fixes after. Because I want to talk about, the crap that happens over the holidays. So let's face it. And it's, again, like I said, it starts from October until January, right? So number one, the one that everyone thinks of first is going to be the overeating and indulgence, right? There's an abundance of treats. We have Halloween, there's candy everywhere. Thanksgiving, you've got the pies, the pecan pie, that's my favorite. And those treats are usually super calorie dense, right? There's the sweets, the baking. You're definitely eating more at those meals and outings, right? There's usually a lot more alcohol involved. When we're drinking, we tend to indulge in more food as well. So everything goes hand in hand and it makes it very, very easy to overindulge. And then you're like, well, I'll be really good during the week. And then on the weekend, you eat significantly more. And then you're really counteracting any efforts you make during the week in terms of you're not actually in a deficit or things like that, right? Then we also have to talk about the emotional eating side of things, right? The holidays can bring up some massive emotions. There can be a lot of stress around hosting, or, you're going to a family dinner and people are kind of critical, right? There's some stress there. Or there's a lot of grief. The holidays aren't always rainbow and sunshine for everyone, right? I still try to make the best of the holidays, but without my mom, it's really hard. It's only been 2.5 years without her. I never, ever thought that, oh man, I'm going to cry. I never thought that she wouldn't be here for my kids' first Christmas and Thanksgiving and Halloween, so that can trigger some emotional eating in people because the holidays aren't always super great, right? It can be almost a bit triggering for some people. Sorry, just trying to get my crap together here. And then obviously that's going to lead to like some overeating and some discomfort afterwards, the guilt that comes with that afterwards. And then you're just in this negative spiral of like, oh, I'm sad. So then I ate and then I'm disappointed in myself, and then screw it, I'll just like try again next week. And then just go, it's very easy to spiral downwards, right? And then there's also social pressures. You get together with some family, some friends, some coworkers, and these gatherings, these parties, the events, there's often a lot of pressure involved around like eating a certain way or drinking more than normally would, right? And maybe some judgment that goes with that, where you just want to fit in. You don't want to like be that person. People are like, oh, you're no fun. Like you don't drink. So there's a whole aspect of all these things that can lead to the overindulgence and the overeating just from, the environment. There's more temptation, right? There's the emotions around it, and then the social pressure from people around you. So that's number one, right? We got 6 more to go through. So 2, disrupted routine. This is a big one. Okay. Busy schedules. This time of year is chaotic. And this is where I talk to people like, oh, well, I think I want to wait till January to start. And it's like, so you want to wait until you gain more weight over the holidays before you start being proactive and doing something about it. That's not going to make you feel more patient come January, where you want to lose 30 pounds in a month, where that's not realistic, right? Like you got to do the groundwork of setting a solid foundation and some routine and like setting up all these habits so that you can lose weight, but you're going to be upset because you're not going to be able to lose weight yet in January. You're going to have to wait till like March before you're in a position where your body will actually allow you to lose weight. So doing things now in a busy season can be really helpful, because like if you can master stuff during a busy season, when it's easy, like slow riding season, when things relax, you're good. You already learned how to like master these things during a challenging time. So that makes it, when it's not challenging, that much easier. And then when it gets challenging again, you already know how to deal with it. That's amazing, right? So let's talk about these disrupted routines here, like busy schedules, the increased social events, the holiday shopping, which can be stressful in itself. And then it's like, oh, I'm just going to swing by the food court and get myself a little treat. Starbucks, I freaking love their caramel brulee lattes. And the praline pecan one, like praline something. I don't know. Anyways, those 2, my favorite. The first time I ever logged those, oh my goodness. Steph better only make one holiday shopping trip, because there's a lot of calories in those bad boys, despite how delicious they are. So, I skip the whipped cream. I maybe opt for a low-fat milk, right? Like you tailor some things, but still it's not the best option. But it's very easy when you're in the holiday season and you're shopping around. You're like, oh, I'll just swing by here. Oh, this baking looks so good. You go to like the local markets, right? Like our city always hosts those. And it's like, you want to support local. So you buy the baking, you buy the things, but then that's just there, right? So it's very easy when we're busy in these schedules to just like pop in and grab some takeout before, continuing on our Christmas holiday shopping or whatever it is you're doing, right? And then you've got travel too. And all those things really disrupt your regular routine, right? Making it way harder to exercise because maybe you're in a different place or different priorities. Like your whole routine is just off. And then your eating gets off track too because your routine is off, right? So it's very easy for the busy schedules to kind of get in the way, but we can't use that as a reason as to why we can't be successful. We have to learn how to navigate that, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. The other thing too with disrupted routines, skipping meals. Super common over the holidays. Oh, I'm going to save my calories for later, so I'm not going to have breakfast. So you don't have protein, and by the time you're done the end of the day, you're definitely not hitting your protein goal because you filled yourself with all those yummy, delicious carbs, as you should, right? Like pass the pecan pie, pass me some more mashed potatoes, that dinner bun, load it up, like here we go, all the good stuff. And you should enjoy that. But if you're skipping your regular meals or you're skipping lunch because you're just go, busy and traveling and all these things, you're going to be low on your protein. You're going to have higher cortisol levels. You are, not setting yourself up for success by skipping meals when you think you're quote unquote helping yourself out by saving calories. It could actually have the opposite effect because then you're starving by the time you're in this wonderful temptation food spread that's in front of you. Of course, it's going to be harder to like control yourself and overindulge, right? So skipping meals definitely disrupts your routine and your hunger catches up with you later. And then inconsistent sleep is the other thing that happens with the travel and the change in our routines. We have more late nights, right? That leads to more stress response. There's more travel. So we know that when you are sleeping less and your sleep quality is worse, or you're having alcohol, that also impacts your sleep quality. You might think it helps you fall asleep, but it doesn't improve your sleep quality. It actually makes it worse. And we know from studies that show 2 groups in a calorie deficit, the only difference was one group had 5.5 hours of sleep. The other group had 7.5 hours of sleep. One had better quality, one had less quality. The group with less quality sleep and less sleep in general saw less fat loss, more muscle loss, which means your metabolism slows down, you're not looking fit and toned, your body fat percentage went up. And then despite you losing weight, right, body fat percentage still went up, which is not what you want. And they had more issues with like cravings because their hunger hormones were affected because of the higher cortisol levels from the inconsistent sleep. So you can see how like the busy schedules, the skipping meals, and the inconsistent sleep is like the perfect storm for increased appetite, struggling with your cravings, not hitting your protein goals, overindulging. Like it really is not, like it doesn't set you up for a successful environment by any means. That's number 2. Now, number 3, stress and anxiety. This is a big one. Holiday planning. Preparing for family events, gift shopping, managing expectations, all those things can really increase your stress levels, right? So for example, I remember a long time ago, I used to host Friendsgiving and I used to host New Year's Eve at my house. I'm talking a long time ago, like university days, okay? And I will get so worked up about like, I got to make sure I have food that everybody likes and I got to time everything perfectly as long as everyone shows up on time. But what if they don't show up on time? Okay, then I should probably like save something to put in later so everyone gets hot food. But what about what board games are we going to have and what card games? Do I have enough of the right drinks? Is everything clean? What are they going to think of my Christmas tree? Like just absurd how much I would overthink. And I would like work myself up so much to like try and have this like perfect party, which is like ridiculous. Like, come to my house. Here are the things. If you're going to criticize me, then just don't come. I was nice enough to feed you and like provide all these wonderful games that we can play. And if you don't like it, just get out, right? But like, when do we ever think like that? We don't. We're just like, oh, please love me. Please tell me how great this is. Please accept me. I just want to belong. Tell me how great I am, right? Like we just get so worked up. And then we also have maybe like in-laws or something. My in-laws are amazing. So I'm very blessed in this department. But like I have friends who like their in-laws are like, turkey's a little dry this year. Not as great as my daughter over there. You're just like, okay, I'm just not going to host next year. You can do it yourself, right? Like just things like that pop up. And then there's also the financial pressures around the holiday, right? We tend to overspend. We get excited. I'm already guilty of this, you guys. Like you guys are gonna laugh. So we love farm stuff. We live on a funny farm. We have goats, we have pigs, we have mini horses, we have a mini Highland cow, we have chickens, we have, is that everything? You know, cats, dogs, the whole shebang, right? Like we have animals everywhere. So raising our kid on a farm is really excited. And like Taylor wants him to like farm animals and all these things. The day of this recording, you guys, my son is like not even 3 months old. Like he is, like he was born in July, July 30th, like end of July. So he's little, okay? And we already bought him a little Tykes farm set with like a little pig and a cow and the little farmer. That's like made for 2-year-olds. So we already have his Christmas gift, not for this Christmas, for the Christmas after. We are prepared. And I was always like, I'm not going to spoil my kids. They don't need stuff. I have bought so much stuff, so much stuff. But I mean, like, we are all like that. We just get so excited and we want to give, which is great. It's so awesome to be generous. But that can lead to some like stressors in itself, right? Or some unhealthy habits around like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I spent that much. And the next thing you know, you crushed a bag of potato chips on your couch, right? Like it just snowballs, right? Like we get excited and then it's like, oh, maybe there was an error made, right? So stress and anxiety, very big part of the holidays. Then we have lack of physical activity. Cold weather. I don't know where you're listening from. I don't know where you live. I live in Saskatchewan, the middle of the Canadian prairies. Nobody comes here for anything. It's like a passing through kind of place, or you're meeting a person. Like you don't come here otherwise, right? It's just, It's not a holiday destination by any means. But it gets freaking cold. I'm talking minus 40. Minus 40 is the same in Celsius and in Fahrenheit. It gets to minus 40. I don't want to go outside, right? Like, let's just call it what it is. I'm not going for a walk. Like, I don't want to. You know, we get so much snow, we get blizzards. Like, if it's nice and it's not windy, sweet, I will go for a walk. If it's like minus 20, minus 15, I'll just bundle up good. But if it's windy, if there's snow blowing in my face, if it's colder than that, I'm not being active outside. So you can imagine, like, I have to start my car to warm it up for 20 minutes, maybe 10, to drive to the gym for 8 minutes to go work out. Like, I'm like, do I really want to? Because then I gotta plan more, right? I gotta be like, okay, I need to warm up my car for this long, and then I'll drive, get there, work out, make sure I start my car while I'm still in the gym so it's warm and toasty for when I get in, right? Like, there's all these things that we think about, and then we just don't do the activity, right? And then we also find that as we get busier on the holidays and the shopping and the planning and the gift wrapping and the baking and all these things, we're more strapped for time, we tell ourselves, right? So what's the first thing that gets cut when we're busy? Exercise. Have you been to the gym in December? She's quiet. There's a reason for that, right? So it can make it really challenging when we're really busy with all these things to be consistent with our exercise routine like we used to be when it wasn't the holiday season, right? And if you think about it, the holiday season, especially for Canadian, and Thanksgiving starts in October, like that's 2 months of like, oh, I'm busy. It's the holidays, right? Things get chaotic. The next thing is temptation to overindulge in alcohol. This is not a problem for me. Most people know now that I really don't drink. It's very rare. I might have a glass like of wine maybe once a month. Like it's a very rare occasion. But for most people, like it's tough because there are frequent celebrations, whether it's like holidays and birthdays. There's lots of birthdays in our family around this time of year. So like, you know, there's just more alcohol consumption. There's more get-togethers, and there's like office parties, and then parties with like this friend's family and friends, right? And then you have this other circle of group of friends over here that you're having like a holiday party with. And then you've got like your parents and then your in-laws. And then if your parents are split, maybe you have like multiple holidays, right? Like there is so much. And like usually there's a couple of nice bottles of wine on the table, right? Maybe some like fancy craft beers that you're like testing out, right? And that can lead to lots of empty calories, more likely to like snacks. If you're just sitting around having a drink, there's usually some nice tasty little treats on the table, right? You're typically going to have more cravings for quote unquote unhealthy foods, right? So for your more highly processed, highly palatable treats, let's call them, right? So you're seeing that. And then also we're seeing with alcohol, we're seeing that'll impact our estrogen levels. It'll increase our cravings. It'll increase our fluid retention for up to 3 days, with as little as 3 drinks in a week. So that is like massive, right? So if you think about how much you're drinking, even if it's not that much, right? Like 3 standard drinks a week, which like most of us, our wine glasses are a little bit more than the standard drink, let's be honest, right? The scale will stay elevated for up to 3 days. You see more fluid retention, more inflammation, our gut gets worse, we get more bloating. And if you think about doing this over the whole course of the holidays, like that stuff adds up. Plus, we know that alcohol is going to negatively impact your sleep quality, which we already talked about. So those are all things that we need to think about. And then we have perfectionism. So the all or nothing thinking. These are 2 things that go hand in hand with each other. The I'll start in January mindset, right? Many people adopt this because it's just like, oh, it's just too challenging right now. Like I'll just, new year, new me, right? Like how many times have we seen that? How many times have we seen that little hashtag on Instagram? Or you've joined the next fad diet with your friends, or you've like pre-signed up for like some little challenge or something, right? Like, then you kind of give yourself a hall pass to like, doesn't matter what I'm doing right now because January, right? How many times have you done that, and how many times has it stuck? Because if it did, you would not be listening to this podcast right now. Am I right? So let's make sure that we're not falling into that trap, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit here. And then guilt and shame. A lot of people, if they start to stray away from their health goals, it is super easy to feel guilty, to feel embarrassed and frustrated and ashamed with yourself. Like, oh, why can't I do this? Which can then trigger like more unhealthy behaviors. So I actually learned this I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of story, which I think you guys will all find pretty funny. My husband thought it was hilarious. He was like, thank goodness I wasn't home because that would have been miserable to be around. So as much as you guys think I have my crap together, my brain does different things sometimes. So here it is. So the way we talk about this is like, it's very easy to like the feeling to trigger an action, and then that action makes us feel a certain way, and then we act again in a way that we don't want, and it just goes around and around and around in like this negative spiral, right? So for example, let's say like you skip the gym and then you're really hard on yourself and you're just like, oh man, I'm just like the worst. And then you're like, oh, it's just today. Like I'll get back on track tomorrow. I'm going to have this chocolate. Today's kind of already like ruined, right? So I'm going to have the pecan pie and this, that, the whatever, right? Like you just overindulge. You wake up the next morning and you hop on the scale and you're like, oh man, like this is terrible. I can't believe I did this to myself. And then everything from that point forward, like you just feel negative about, and then like you make choices to try and comfort yourself, which might actually like help you in the right direction. And it's all based on how you're feeling, because your feelings absolutely dictate your actions. So we need to adjust. How can we change how you're feeling, right? How do we change the perception of the situation? So let me tell you about my Thanksgiving. Okay, so it's so irrational and it doesn't make any sense because usually this stuff does not bother me one iota. And yesterday it did. You know, like you guys I'm recording this podcast the day after Canadian Thanksgiving. So you're listening to this later. But let me tell you a little story about how irrational Stephanie was. So I woke up. I took care of Grayson. Taylor took care of Grayson all night. I woke up in the morning early, took him from my shift. We sat in the living room. We cuddled. I did my daily devotional. Things were great. I had a meeting at 9 o'clock. And in my head, I'm like, Taylor should know this. Did I tell him? No. But in my mind, I'm like, he sees my calendar. He knows that I have a meeting at 9 o'clock. So therefore, he should be getting up an extra 50 minutes earlier so I can get ready with enough time to not be rushed for my meeting. He wakes up the time he usually does. I didn't tell him. He's not a mind reader. But now I'm like, he doesn't care about me. Now I have to rush to try and get ready because he didn't get up with enough time. The audacity after taking care of our son all night that he actually got some sleep, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So now I'm kind of in a crappy mood. Right? I have my meeting and then like I get some work stuff done before he has to go to work. He passes me the baby. I sit down. I'm cuddling baby. And then he just gives me a quick kiss on the forehead and leaves. And I'm like, just rushes out the door. Doesn't even want to spend time with me before he goes to work. Literally any other day, this would not bother me. I'm like, oh, he needs to go to work. Like he's already like kind of late, like because I had this meeting. He needs to go feed the goats and the pigs and all the animals. But to me today, it just dagger. So upset. Okay. Then as I'm sitting there cuddling my son, I get a text from my sister-in-law and she goes, hey, we're doing family photos today before dinner with the whole family. What are you dressing Grayson in? And my first thought is, nobody told me. How inconsiderate. They've probably had this plan forever. No one ever thinks of me. That's so rude. Like no one cares about my feelings. What an irrational thought. The reality of the situation is they decided that morning and she texted me. Like no one's out to get me, but I'm angry. And then I asked her what she was going to wear. She told me she's going to wear white. So now I'm in a tizzy. I told you guys, my brain is so irrational. So postpartum, I have one bra that fits me like a regular bra and it is black. And I'm like, well, if I have to wear a white shirt, like then you're going to see my black bra through it, I'm going to look like a whore. Like literally the thought that I had. Ridiculous. Then I'm like, well, I would try to go shopping yesterday, but they had the fixtures all too close together, so I couldn't get through with a stroller. So I couldn't even find the bra that I wanted. If Le'Veon Rose would have had their fixtures in a better position, I could have had a bra and avoided this. The world sucks. Le'Veon Rose, this is your problem. Now I'm super angry. They don't. Like, what? That's obscene. So then I'm mad at everyone, basically, and nothing is my fault. Right? I'm not taking responsibility for anything. Everything is fighting against me. And then I'm rocking my son in our rocking chair and he falls asleep. Fantastic. We love when a baby falls asleep. And then my stomach starts to growl and I'm hungry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. Now I'm hungry, but I can't eat because my baby's falling asleep on me, which then makes me more mad that I had this thought because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible mother. And now in my head, I'm listing off all the reasons that I am in fact a terrible mother. And then I'm like, well, I would be in a better mood. And I'm aware that I'm in a bad mood and I need to like break it. And I'm like, well, it's because I haven't worked enough in the last 3 days. Taylor had to do his work. So I had to work or had to watch baby Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all day. Like he knows that I would be happier if I got a little bit of work done. Like now this is his fault. Like what? And I'm not joking, you guys. Like this was my mindset all day, over and over and over and over again. And I literally had just learned about this negative looping, how like when you have this negative thought, this light switch just turns on. And it's like your body just doesn't like to go through the logical thinking steps. Like it sees, it's like response, or it's like trigger response. Like it wants to skip like the thinking, the processing, and then doing the action. This is how our body works, our brain. Like we want to be efficient. So like we're almost quote unquote kind of lazy the way our bodies work and our brains work. So here I am. Like I learned this literally the day before, like with awesome examples about this negative looping. And I'm like, even more mad now because I'm aware that I am like the example of what they gave in the course that I took on this mindset stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm even more mad because I'm like, okay, I just got to change my belief around this. Just got to change it. I got to change it to like something more positive. But like, this is what we all do. And over the holidays, it is so easy for this to happen because like, someone makes a comment about your dry chicken or your dry turkey. And then it's like, boom, rest of the day, doesn't matter what anyone says, you're going to take offense to it somehow because now your brain has that circuit kind of turned on where it's like trigger response, trigger response, trigger response. There's no actual processing that happens. It's just like someone says something, boom, initial reaction, I'm irritated. And that was me all day. Irritated, 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 irritated. For what? Right? So in the holidays, it's so easy for this to happen. But this is why like sad people get sadder, angry people get angrier, happy people get happier because it's like, oh, this is so great. And then you're just like seeing the positive and everything and you just keep spiraling up. That doesn't happen during the holidays for a lot of people. So I just want to show you guys like it happens to me too, right? This is a thing that happens. We're going to talk about how to fix that in a little bit, but I wanted to give you guys my like complete irrational thought process that I had on Thanksgiving. It was wild. And the thing that snapped me out of it was like my son, we were like, I was playing with him in the mirror and he's like looking at me and putting his head against my cheek and smiling. And then it made me feel better. And then all of a sudden the day was great. I'm like, I'm a great mom. And then I started listing off like in my brain, like unconsciously, like all the reasons that I am a good mom. Like, it's wild. That triggered my like, flip the switch for, oh, life is good. Life is good. I'm grateful. I'm happy. And then everything, it's like, I could see the positive. So it's like, how do I switch this without having to rely on my son liking me all the time? Because let's face it, as he grows, that's probably not going to be the case all the time, right? So the next thing that causes us to kind of go off track is travel challenges. So when we're traveling, it can be very hard to find healthy options, right? So when we're like in airports or we're driving or, staying with family, they might not eat the way that you eat, or the food options that you usually have aren't around, right? So we derail from our usual eating habits, which can really, turn us in the wrong direction. Family dynamics. Oh boy. Right? This is always a great one. Conflicts and stress. Like there's at family gatherings, it can always bring up like unresolved conflicts or stress or, people being like, so when are you having kids? Oh, you're still single. Did your marriage get any better? How's the divorce going? Like, no. Or you have like that one sibling that's just like, just gets under your skin, So like it always, again, adds to extra stress, emotional eating, affects our sleep, all of those things. And then different priorities, right? Like if your family or friends aren't focused on health, you're like the weird one, right? Like they're going to make comments, be like, oh, like veggies, that's weird. I just have like potatoes and bread and turkey. Right? Like there's always going to be, it's going to make you feel kind of like the odd man out. And like some of us already feel that way. And that's challenging. Right? And then of course, hormonal fluctuations, menopause problems, right? When we're in perimenopause or menopause, the years that come after, the holidays can really amp up some of the symptoms that you're experiencing, like bloating, weight gain, fatigue, cravings, the hot flashes, night sweats, the insomnia. And this is usually due to like changes in sugar and alcohol intake, as well as your stress. We're already like struggling with these things as it is, because as estrogen declines, we're already struggling with blood sugar. We're already struggling with cravings. We're already struggling with our sleep, insomnia, the hot flashes, the energy. And then like the holidays, like the way that we eat and the stress that comes along with it can like really make those symptoms worse, which then makes us feel even worse, which makes us want to like, eat more food. And then that negative spiral starts to happen again and again and again, right? So understanding these things can really help you identify what the issues are, and then we can start developing strategies to help navigate the holiday season in a more healthy way, not necessarily like chasing fat loss, but like how can we prevent that 8-pound weight gain that we're seeing so that you're not like starting off the new year heavier than you are now or more unhealthy than you are right now, leaving you feeling not so great, right? Leaving you where you don't get until May until you get to where you are right now. How can we avoid that? How can we set you up for success so that you're not like having to dig yourself out of a hole? So let's go through these one by one and go through these fixes. So number one, the overeating and indulgence that we talked about. The easiest thing that you can do is prioritize protein, number one. Like make sure you're having breakfast. Always try and get 30 grams of protein at least if you can, because like when we're traveling and stuff like that, it's hard to hit our goals. If you can get enough protein in earlier, it'll help you stay full. It'll help you avoid blood sugar crashes and cravings. It'll keep you more satisfied. It'll stabilize those blood sugars. Like there's so many things that are going to help you with a protein-rich diet. So really prioritize protein, have some protein snacks on hand. Avoid like attending things super hungry. Like don't be skipping those routines. So with the overeating and indulgence, that's the best advice that I can say. Make sure that when you're, putting your plate together, that you've got some veggies on there, you've got some carbs on there, you've got some protein. Like even that out, add some color to your plate. The more color, the better. Not from sugar cookie icings, right? No sugar cookie icings. That's not what I mean here. I'm talking get a variety of veggies, your carbs, your protein. Add some color to that plate. Then when you're coming up for desserts, this is my favorite thing to do is like, if there's a couple things that look pretty good for you, take like literally a tiny like taste of each and then decide, okay, this is the thing that I enjoy the most. And then sit and be present with it. Like actually enjoy your food. Don't just inhale it. Like if you're going to have the sweets and stuff, which you should, enjoy it. Like my sister-in-law is an excellent baker. Like she is so good. So pretty much anything that she brings, I'm going to have. Like I don't even taste. I'm like, I know this is going to be amazing. This is the thing that I really want. And like for me, I'm not a big whipped cream person. I'm like, I don't like the filminess in your mouth. It's extra calories that I don't actually enjoy. So like I just have like the cheesecake. Like last night she brought like peanut butter cookie dough cheesecakes and they were phenomenal. And I enjoyed every bite. I didn't just like inhale it. Like I enjoyed it. Like enjoy your food. Okay, the next one. Oh yeah, and like don't skip your meals. Like make sure that you're still like eating throughout the day, because then once you get to that big meal, like you will not be able to control yourself because you're starving and everything just looks that much more delicious. So make sure that you're like eating still regularly throughout the day. Have a high protein rich snack before you go. Those are super easy ways that you can still then enjoy your food, but you don't feel out of control and there's no guilt around it. Number 2, for your disrupted routine, schedule your workouts and healthy meals just like you would any other holiday activity. So this is where like, you're still having your breakfast. Maybe tell your family, hey, I'm going to go for a walk every morning. Who wants to join me? Because if you have accountability from other people, you're more likely to do it, right? And it could be good quality time, or maybe that's your saving grace. Maybe you don't enjoy spending that much time with your family, which is fine. We don't have to, There's no rule. There's no rule. You can love someone and not like them, and that's okay. So if you need to get out of the house, you need some like time away from the craziness or maybe some like judgmental people, use the gym to escape. Go for a walk. Like use those, like that'll help you so much. And then like bring some healthy meals. So like if you're used to having like your snacks or whatever, like bring those things. Bring your trail mix, buy some cheese strings in advance, some turkey pepperoni sticks. Maybe you're buying like individual veggies and dip, some fruit that travels easily like oranges, apples, things like that. Like have some good staples that prioritize fiber, our whole foods, get some protein in there. Like that will help you a lot, just to kind of help keep that routine somewhat. So make sure that you have those, on hand. when you need. Stress and anxiety. This one is tough. It's probably the hardest one, but try and incorporate some daily relaxation techniques like deep breathing. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's meditation. So like journaling at the end of the day, or maybe in the morning to set an intention so that you're like very aware of things. I find this very helpful. I do like a devotional every morning in my Bible app. And it makes me just very aware of certain things throughout the day where I'm like, oh no, like let's not react this way. Like it helps me just like ground myself a little bit more, right? But deep breathing, like honestly, like if you can take time a couple times a day to take like 10 really slow, deep breaths to bring that heart rate and breathing rate down to lower those stress levels will make a huge difference. Doing feet up on the wall can help de-stress and also help with digestion and bloating as well. So laying on the floor, feet up on the wall, 5 to 10 minutes, it helps bring blood flow from your legs back to your gut to help with digestion and bloating. But also it helps lower your breathing and heart rate and your cortisol levels, which is great. Get your family and friends to do it with you too. That's great. And then also with the stress and anxiety piece, setting some boundaries with holiday obligations and allowing yourself to say no. So hard, but so helpful. We have clients, actually one of my clients, like she was asked to host Thanksgiving and to host Christmas. And she said, no, I'm only hosting Christmas because it's just too much. And I am so freaking proud of her. So understanding where to put up the boundaries, and boundaries don't mean that you're mean. It doesn't mean like, it's not a negative thing. Boundaries are there to protect you, from like not overextending yourself, burning out, being able to actually enjoy the holiday season. But also boundaries are just like a gate, like it's not a hard fixed wall people have to climb over. It's a gate. If you can respect the boundaries, just walk in. We're free to have a relationship. We can hang out. Right? If you don't respect the boundaries, then okay, I just locked the gate door. Not a big deal. Like it's this free flowing thing. It's best for everyone, right? Because then you can be a better version of yourself and be present too. Lack of physical activity. Like I said, find opportunities to move even in the small ways. So if you're going Christmas shopping, park a little bit further. You'll be less likely to get your car door dinged anyways. Do that. Walk after meals. Take a 5 to 10 minute walk after meals. Amazing for blood sugar. Great for like inflammation and fluid retention. Like it's so good for helping your body. Doing body weight exercises at home. I was listening to a podcast and I wish I could remember which one it was. But her family, they do like a challenge when they're cooking together once a week. It's like by the time we're done cooking this meal, you have to have done 50 squats, 50 push-ups, and like 50 jumping jacks or something like that. So like, someone's like stirring something in the pot and they're doing squats or things like that. So make things fun and then add in some active traditions. Like maybe it's going ice skating. Maybe it's building snowmen outside. Maybe it's like playing hockey. Maybe it's curling. Maybe it's going skiing, snowboarding, cross-country skiing. Maybe you're going snowshoeing. Like there's so many things that you can do to try and like add some activity that kind of become part of like your holiday traditions, which can be really nice, right? It's a great way to bond and spend quality time with your family. Like those are the things that I remember the most from my mom. Like I remember so much stuff about the food, but like I don't remember the presents. Like I remember giving certain gifts because like I like giving gifts. I don't like receiving gifts. I'm like weird about it, but I like giving gifts. So it's like, I like being able to show in that way my love. But I remember like going skating together. I remember going and seeing the Christmas lights when we're like decorating the Christmas tree. Like we'd have this very specific CD on and like my mom would have the baking going and just like the smells and the sounds and the Christmas tree and going through all the old ornaments. It was just so nice. Like I remember all of those things, like the activities and being outside and doing those things more than any gifts. And so it's going to be better for your health, but also it's a great way to build memories with your family. And it's like a stress relief that way too, right? So just focus on staying consistent with like some sort of activity and movement. Don't try and be perfect because life's going to throw things at you, right? So just get some movement in. The next thing is the temptation with alcohol, right? So set a limit for yourself in advance, like what you want to like limit yourself to drink wise. Try doing alternating alcoholic drinks with water. Very important, right? If you're planning to drink, opt for lighter options like a wine spritzer, low calorie cocktails, or you can do even mocktails. Like I really like the Olay brand. They have a margarita in a can, but they have an alcohol-free version and I love it. It's like 30 calories. It's delicious. There's ones that are like mojito flavored too. But I mean, I used to do just like sodas with like lime or like little, like fruit or things like that. Like I'm not a big alcohol drinker. Just be aware, like if you are having cocktails, like you've got the alcohol plus all the sugar from like the juices and stuff. So like just be mindful of those things. Avoid drinking on an empty stomach. So like just be aware of those things. The next thing is perfectionism or that all or nothing thinking. This is so hard, right? It's so easy to negative spiral. Just like I told you guys how my Thanksgiving went. It was just, I look back and I laugh because I think it's like looking back, I'm like, girl, you crazy. Like that was just not a good day for me. We had some poor moments in that day. So you need to shift your mindset more to like progress, not perfection. First of all, like you're not gonna be perfect over the holidays. Like be really realistic with that right now so that you're not upset for not reaching an expectation that you have for yourself. Like be realistic in what's achievable and what you actually want to do and what those pillars are. Allow room for flexibility. Remind yourself that like one meal isn't going to destroy everything. It's like multiple things in a row. So like, let's say, Thanksgiving dinner went totally crazy. Sweet. Next day, my breakfast is going to be solid. I'm going to have my protein and my carbs. It's going to have higher protein. I'm going to try and incorporate some veggies in there. So like you never let it happen twice in a row. Like the next thing is just you go back to your regular routine, do really well at your next meal. You're not like over restricting your calories. You're not doing a ton of extra exercise. You're just, getting back on track. You're not waiting until the new year either. But then also try and reframe your perception of things. It's like I said yesterday, very hard for me. Like I was very warped in what the reality of the situation was, right? So it's like, oh, I'm so hungry, but like my baby's asleep on me. Of course, it's what happened to me. Life's so unfair. And be like, oh, I'm hungry, but I'm so grateful that like I get to cuddle him because he's not gonna stay this little forever. Mind you, he's not little now. He's like 11 weeks today and 16 pounds. Like my kid is a tank. He's huge, but he's not like a rolly kid. Like he doesn't have like the folds on his arms and legs. Like he's just a solid unit. So yeah, it's like, how can you change the perception and the feeling around it? Like, I'm not a bad mom. I'm just having a bad moment. Like I'm just hungry. My blood sugar's crashing. Like this is why I'm like irritable. It's fine. I'll eat once he's awake. Like it's not a big deal. Like trying to like reframe things or like, Taylor rushing out the door and being like, oh my gosh, doesn't care about me. No, he cares about me so much that he's going to work to, be able to contribute to our family financially, right? Like you have to change what the meaning is behind the event, because then once you change the meaning, the feeling follows, and then you act based on your feelings. So for example, let's say the scale. This is my favorite example. You hop on the scale. It doesn't show what you want. Now your whole day is ruined. Right? Everything just makes you mad. You feel unworthy. Nobody likes you. You're super critical of yourself. And like, it just gets crazy. A way to reframe it is like, okay, I hop on the scale. Cool. The number doesn't define me. I can still be making progress and not see changes on the scale. Right? Like I can be putting on muscle, losing fat. The scale stays the same. I could have the scale go up because I'm putting on muscle or because I drank more water or I had more salt or whatever it might be. I have a whole podcast on scale fluctuations you guys can go back to, but you need to change the meaning of the event, because when you change the meaning, you're going to have a different feeling, right? Like, oh, I'm a bad mom because I work so much. You're going to feel guilty every time that you choose to work, right? Whereas if you reframe it to like, I'm working so that like I can provide for my family, and like I'm working hard now so I can be present later when I have time with them. So like for the next 5 hours, I'm going to crush out this work. I'm going to be super productive. I'm not going to feel guilty about it because this is allowing me to financially like support my family, to have the experiences and quality time so that when we go on vacation, like I can do extra fun things with them. I can be more present, take the pictures, do the things, right? So just by changing that mindset, I'm like, I'm a great mom because I work so hard and I can still be present for my kids. It's not one or the other. That automatically makes me feel better. And some of the choices that I make later because I'm in a good mood are better than if I'm in a bad mood, right? And feeling poorly about myself. And that takes so much practice, you guys, like so much practice. I'm going to do a whole podcast on like self-sabotage and how to address these things. It's partially written, but I have so much that I want to talk about and so many examples. So I want to wait a little bit to make sure I have everything I need there. But this stuff takes time. And like the holidays can just like, everything is amplified, right? Like everything seems 10 times better or 10 times worse. So give yourself some grace and like take a step back, because when we're in that state of like stress and frenzy, like we can't logically think. It's just trigger, response. Take a step back and be like, why did I think that way? Where did that feeling come from? Like, where did I get this idea that working as a mom makes you a bad mom? Where did this idea come from? Like, be curious about that. Like, I have one of my mentors, Taylor Welch, like I'm learning this stuff from him, and it's phenomenal. And he's really taught me to be more curious about like where these thoughts are coming from. Where did you hear it first? Where did you see it like exemplified first? Because that really helps you understand why. And then you can be like, is that true or is that not true? And like, it totally changes your perception on things. But you first have to be aware that you're doing these things, and then take the time to like, disassociate from it and like really analyze what's going on. And again, it's not going to be perfect, especially if you're in like a super high stress state. Like it's going to be hard to like dissociate from it. But then you have to like go back and like, as long as you're reflecting on it so you can move forward in a more positive direction, that makes a huge difference. Travel challenges, pack stuff. If you're on a road trip, pack your snacks. It's pretty easy to find your carbs, right? It's everywhere. So try and find some high protein snacks. Like I used to do like tuna salad with veggies a lot. I used to do like high protein wraps. I do veggies and dip. I do apples and peanut butter. I would do like fruit and cheese, high protein yogurt with some fruit and granola. Like there's so many things that you can pack and bring with you that can be super helpful. And then also if you're going to like someone's house, just like bring some snacks with you. It's not that big of a deal. Like bring some microwave rice, bring whatever. Like there's so many options. Go grocery shopping before. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Like just make sure you have a couple options for everything and you're really good to go. The other thing too with activity when you're traveling is, again, try and like stretch, try and walk, do little quick workouts, like just get those little exercise snacks. Like just like having a cookie here or there will add up over time. So does movement, do a few push-ups here and there, do some squats, do some walking lunges, run with your kids when you're outside at the park, like get in that little extra movement. Those little snacks add up just like a piece of cake would add up every day, right? Family dynamics. First thing is you can't change people. You can't control how they're going to react to you. And you can't control like their feelings, right? So you just have to mentally prepare by managing expectations around like family events and how they perceive you. Practice those stress reduction techniques like I talked about beforehand. Create an exit plan if there's a difficult conversation or situation that typically arises. So how are you going to like remove yourself if you need to like remove yourself? Because sometimes that stuff can be really hard, right? So having some sort of plan. And then if emotional eating is triggered, ask yourself if you're truly hungry. Like maybe drink some water first, have some tea, maybe go for a walk, maybe have like a quote unquote healthier snack first, set a timer for like 10 minutes. And if you're still hungry and wanting the thing, then have the thing. Like try and figure out what that strategy is going to look like for you, because for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different. And then to help manage all those crazy hormonal symptoms that can get a lot worse this time of year, prioritize balancing meals with your protein, prioritizing protein and fiber first. Make sure you have those veggies on there. When you're eating your meals, try and have protein and veggie first before dipping into your carbs. So let's say you have some green beans and you have some turkey and mashed potatoes. Have a little bit of turkey and green beans first, and then start eating your mashed potatoes. By doing that, you're going to stabilize your blood sugars. You're going to have more stable energy. You're not going to have the cravings later. That can really help so much. Make sure you're drinking enough water throughout the day to help with the bloating. But those things alone will help you so much with your blood sugar and the symptoms that come along with that during perimenopause and menopause. But again, being mindful of alcohol and excess sugar in general will be helpful. So if you're going to have a treat, make sure you're having it right after like a meal, or maybe you're having like some veggies and dip first and then having the cookies or whatever it might be to help stabilize those sugars. So you want to eat something before the treat if you can. And you're always having it with something. You're never having a carb alone. So even an apple, you're pairing that with some peanut butter or some yogurt, for example, or a piece of cheese. These fixes can help you so much over the holidays because I know how stressful they can be and all the things that can really come up. So I hope this was helpful. I hope these things will help you navigate this holiday season so that you're not digging yourself a bigger hole to get out of come January. If you have questions on where you should kind of start and you aren't sure, just book a consultation call. We are always happy to help you figure out how much you should be eating, give you some strategies to help you based on your specific situation. We are always more than happy to chat and to talk. We love you so much and just want to help you and support you in any way that we can. Have a great rest of your day. Have a wonderful holiday season. Share this with all your stressed holiday friends, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.